Have you ever found yourself saying something to your grown-up child, only to see their face tighten, their eyes drop, or their voice shift just slightly colder than before? Maybe it wasn't even what you said, but how it landed. You walk away thinking, what did I say wrong? I didn't mean anything by it. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. The truth is, as we get older, our relationships evolve, and none more than the one we have with our adult children. You raised them, taught them right from wrong, fed them, comforted them, and likely sacrificed more than you can ever explain. But now they're grown. They've built their own lives, formed their own opinions, and started families of their own. And sometimes that shift can feel unsettling. Many parents over 60 wrestle with this delicate balance, staying connected, staying respected, and still feeling like they matter. And the key often lies not just in what we say, but what we don't. In this video, we're going to talk heart to heart about 6 things you should avoid saying to your adult children. Not because you're wrong or because you've done anything terrible, but because avoiding these common phrases can open the door to a stronger, more respectful relationship. Let's start with the first one. It might sting a little to hear, but stay with me. One of the most damaging phrases, though often said with love, is, "When I was your age, now I know." That phrase comes from a good place. You're trying to relate, to share wisdom, to let them know they're not alone in their struggles. But let's be honest, it rarely lands that way. When your adult child hears that, what they often feel is dismissed. As if the world they live in, the challenges they face, the pressures they carry, don't quite count because your version of that struggle happened years ago and you somehow got through it. But the world has changed. The cost of living is different. The pace of life is faster. Technology has taken over. Parenting looks different. Marriage looks different. Even finding quiet time to breathe can feel like a battle. So instead of saying, "When I was your age, try this," "I can't imagine how hard that must feel right now. Tell me more about it." Just listen. Be curious. Ask instead of compare. You'll be amazed at how much they open up. Now, the second thing to be careful about is this seemingly innocent question. Why don't you call more often? It comes from a place of longing. We miss them, we want to feel important in their lives. But when it's phrased like that, it can feel like a guilt trip, like they're failing you. And when people feel guilty, they pull back even more. Think of it this way, life is busy. You know how exhausting it can be to juggle a household, manage a career, raise kids. Even after retirement, the days somehow feel full. Now imagine they're doing all that plus trying to keep their own mental health in check. When you ask, "Why don't you call?" it puts pressure on the relationship, and over time, it might even make them dread the call they once looked forward to. So what can you say instead? Try something simple and loving. "It made my day hearing your voice. I always enjoy talking to you." That plants a seed of warmth. It reminds them how valued they are, not how disappointing they've been. And 9 times out of 10, it will actually make them want to reach out more often, not less. There's also a third thing, and this one's tricky, because it often hides behind what feels like support. It's when we say, you should save more money, you should spend more time with your kids, you should leave that job, you should stay at that job. The list goes on. We say these things because we want the best for them. But what it often sounds like is judgment. As if we don't trust their ability to figure things out. As if we still see them as a teenager who needs constant correction. Let's be real for a second. We've all made mistakes. We've taken the long road. And sometimes, those missteps are exactly what helped us grow. Your adult child is doing the same, trying, learning, stumbling, and adjusting. Instead of, "You should try, have you thought about?" Or, "I wonder if," that small shift in language changes everything. It invites a conversation rather than delivering a verdict. It tells them, "I respect your independence. I trust your choices. I'm here if you need a sounding board." And isn't that the kind of parent we all want to be, especially now? Not one who hovers or directs, but one who guides, when asked, when welcomed, and when needed. This stage of life can be a beautiful one. We have wisdom, perspective, and hopefully more time to spend with the people we love. But it's also a stage that requires letting go of control, of expectations, and even of old habits that don't serve us anymore. Respect from your adult children doesn't come from reminding them of what you've done for them. It comes from how you make them feel today, heard, seen, and accepted just as they are. Now that we've looked at a few phrases that can unintentionally create distance, let's keep going. It's a delicate dance, isn't it? Loving your children deeply but also learning to step back just enough so they can live their own lives. And the truth is, sometimes it's not about what you say, it's about how they hear it. Our words carry weight, especially when they come from someone as important as a parent. That's why being intentional in how we express our love and concern can make all the difference in keeping a strong and respectful bond with our adult children. Now, let's talk about something that slips out more often than we realize, usually during moments of worry or frustration. When I was your age, I already had a house, a stable job, and 2 kids. On the surface, it might seem harmless, a comparison, maybe even a nudge to get them motivated. But for many adult children today, it feels more like a dismissal of the very real challenges they're facing. We grew up in a completely different world. Jobs were more secure, housing was more affordable, and the path from education to employment was much more straightforward. Today, young adults are navigating a far more competitive and unpredictable landscape. When they hear us talk about how much we accomplished at their age, it can come across like we're saying they're falling short, even if that's not what we mean. Instead, one of the most respectful things we can do is acknowledge the reality of their world. That might sound like, "I know things are tougher now than they were for us. I admire how you're handling it all." That kind of statement builds connection. It says, "I see you. I respect your journey." And believe me, that simple shift in how we speak can open the door to deeper conversations and more trust. Here's another one that tends to pop up during tense moments or when a disagreement gets a little heated. "I'm your parent. You should listen to me." Now, when they were 5, that probably worked like magic. But now, that line can shut down communication faster than anything. Why? Because it puts them in a child role again, and no adult wants to feel talked down to, especially by someone they're trying to have a mature relationship with. Respect in adult relationships is a two-way street. It's not about authority anymore, it's about mutual understanding. You might know more because of your experience, and you likely have valuable insights to share, but the way those insights are delivered matters just as much as the content. Saying something like, "Would it be okay if I shared what helped me in a similar situation?" invites a conversation instead of demanding obedience. Remember, your adult child still deeply values your wisdom, even if they don't always show it. But that wisdom lands best when it's wrapped in kindness and humility, not control. Giving advice only when asked, or asking permission first, can be a powerful way to show that you trust them to lead their own lives, even as you're there as a loving safety net. Sometimes, the hurt doesn't come from a single big statement, it comes from little comments that pile up over time. And one of those is the seemingly innocent phrase, "You never call anymore." It usually comes from a place of missing them, of longing for connection. But unfortunately, it often ends up sounding like guilt. And guilt, even well-intentioned, can make someone pull away rather than come closer. Our children are busy. They're balancing work, relationships, sometimes kids of their own. Life is a whirlwind for them just like it once was for us. Instead of guilt, try warmth. A simple, "I always love hearing from you. It makes my day," said with a smile and no pressure, can go a long way. It doesn't demand, it invites. And over time, that kind of openness tends to bring people back because they feel appreciated rather than obligated. And while we're here, let's remember that communication isn't just about words. It's about the tone, the timing, and even the body language. A kind word can be lost if it's said in a sharp voice. An honest question can come off as judgment if asked at the wrong moment. Being mindful of these subtle layers makes all the difference, especially when we're trying to stay close to the people we love most. You might be thinking, "But don't I get to express myself too?" Absolutely you do. This isn't about walking on eggshells or hiding how you feel. It's about choosing your words in a way that builds the kind of relationship you want. If respect is the goal, then empathy and understanding are the tools. The beauty of aging is that we've had a front row seat to how relationships evolve. We know how quickly time passes and how precious connection really is. So now, more than ever, is the time to nurture those bonds, with patience, grace, and a little bit of humor when things get bumpy. Because no relationship is perfect. But when both sides feel heard, valued, and respected, that's where the real closeness lives. It's funny how over the years we learned that saying less often means saying more. And when it comes to our adult children, sometimes the best way to strengthen the relationship is to stop trying to fix everything with words. Still, as parents, it's second nature to want to protect and guide, especially when we see them going through something difficult. But there's one phrase that, although well-meaning, tends to do more harm than good: "You're too sensitive." This one usually slips out during moments of tension, when they react strongly to something we've said or done. Maybe we were just trying to be honest. Maybe we thought we were helping. But when they push back or seem upset and we respond with "You're too sensitive," what they often hear is, "Your feelings aren't valid." And that can feel dismissive, like we're minimizing their emotional experience. The truth is, every generation communicates a little differently. What felt like tough love to us might feel like harsh criticism to them. What we think is just joking might land as a real sting. So instead of brushing off their reaction, a better response might be, "I didn't realize that hurt you. Can you help me understand how it came across?" That small shift changes the whole dynamic, from defense to connection. It's not about who's right. It's about keeping the bridge between you strong. Respect grows when both people feel seen and heard. And even if you don't agree with their reaction, simply acknowledging it can keep the conversation open. Because when someone feels safe to express how they feel without being told they're to anything, they're much more likely to stay emotionally close. Now let's talk about a phrase that often comes from a place of pride but can still sting. Why can't you be more like your brother or sister? You may not even mean it as a criticism. Maybe you're just pointing out that one of your children seems to be handling something differently, or that they've made choices you admire. But comparisons, especially between siblings, almost never land well. Every child is different. They grow at different rates, take different paths, face different obstacles. And when they hear they're being compared, especially in a way that makes them feel like the lesser one, it can trigger feelings of resentment, not only toward you but toward their sibling too. Instead of comparing, celebrate each child for who they are. Even saying something as simple as, "I know you have your own way of doing things and I respect that," can mean the world. It lets them know they're valued for who they are, not how they stack up to someone else. And it strengthens your bond because they feel safe being their authentic self around you. It's not always easy to unlearn the way we were raised to speak. Maybe your parents made comparisons too, or used tough language that pushed you to succeed. But today what brings respect isn't pressure, it's presence. And presence means showing up emotionally as much as physically. It means listening without judging, guiding without controlling, and encouraging without comparing. And here's something else that's so important but often overlooked. Never assume that silence is safer than honesty. Many parents fall into the habit of bottling things up because they're afraid of offending their grown kids. But there's a difference between speaking your truth with kindness and saying things that come from frustration or old habits. You absolutely can share your thoughts, your feelings, even your worries. But instead of blurting them out during a heated moment, try saying, "I've been thinking about something and I'd love to hear your thoughts." That creates space. It tells them you're not just talking at them, you're opening a door for mutual conversation. When respect is mutual, conversations don't feel like battles. They feel like shared space where both people matter. And that kind of relationship only grows stronger with time. If you found yourself reflecting on some of the things you've said in the past, that's okay. We all have moments we wish we could take back. What matters more is what we say and do moving forward. Relationships aren't built on perfection. They're built on repair, on patience, and on the willingness to grow even when it's hard. And let me tell you something, it's never too late to strengthen your connection with your kids. Even if things have been distant lately, even if there's tension or unspoken hurt, one small act of humility, one genuine apology, or one moment of sincere listening can start to change everything. You've already done so much for your children. You've loved them, supported them, worried for them, and cheered them on from the sidelines of life. That love is your greatest strength, and when it's combined with openness, self-awareness, and kindness, it creates a kind of respect that lasts a lifetime. Let that be the legacy you leave, not just the wisdom you shared, but the grace you lived by. Because when your children look back, they won't remember every single word you said, but they will remember how you made them feel. There's something truly special about the relationship between a parent and their adult child. It changes, of course, it has to. The little hand that once clung to yours in the supermarket grows into someone with their own opinions, their own family, their own life. And while that transition can sometimes feel like a loss, it's actually an invitation, a chance to build something even deeper, a bond based not on dependence but on mutual respect. But that respect is fragile. And one of the most surprising ways we can damage it, without even realizing, is by saying, "After all I've done for you." Now don't get me wrong, you've done a lot. You've probably sacrificed sleep, money, time, dreams, maybe even parts of your identity, to make sure your kids had what they needed. That's not small. That's not forgettable. That's love in action, and it's deeply meaningful. But when we bring it up in moments of conflict, especially to prove a point or win an argument, it can sound like a guilt trip. It can feel transactional, like we're asking for a return on investment rather than connection. And that's never how love is meant to work. Here's the thing, your children probably do remember all you've done, but they may not express it the way you hoped. And that's okay. Your love doesn't become less valuable because they don't say thank you in the way you envisioned. It's still there, imprinted in who they've become. Instead of reminding them of what they owe you, try focusing on how proud you are of the person they've grown into. Even if they're still figuring things out, even if they've made mistakes, telling them, "I'm proud of the person you're becoming," has a way of softening hearts and opening doors. It reminds them that your love is a gift, not a debt. And finally, this one might feel subtle, but it carries a lot of weight. Be mindful not to say, "I just want what's best for you," if it's being used to shut down their choices. This phrase often comes from a loving place. You see your child heading down a path you wouldn't choose. You worry. You want to help. But sometimes what we think is best is filtered through our lens, our experiences, and our fears, not theirs. Adult children crave trust. They want to know you believe in their ability to figure things out, even if that means failing a few times. And when we say, "I just want what's best for you," right after criticizing their partner or their job or how they're raising their kids, it can feel less like support and more like judgment. What can help instead is expressing care without control. Saying something like, "I may not always understand your choices, but I'm here for you. I believe in you," is powerful. It creates space for honest dialogue. It keeps the door open. And most of all, it honors their journey, one that, yes, might be different than yours, but is still worthy of respect. Being a parent in this stage of life is one of the most sacred and complicated roles there is. You're no longer needed in the same ways you once were, but your presence, your wisdom, your support, that still matters more than you know. The key is offering it in a way that uplifts rather than overwhelms, that encourages rather than critiques, that respects rather than resists. And here's the beautiful part. When you make the effort to listen more, to speak with care, to learn how your children experience the world, you don't just earn their respect. You deepen the love between you. You become someone they want to come to, not someone they have to manage. So if any part of this message has touched you, if you found yourself thinking, "Yes, I've said that before," or "I didn't realize how that might have sounded," take heart. Awareness is the first step toward change. And every day, every phone call, every moment together is a new chance to do things differently. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be present, curious, kind, willing to grow even now, even after all these years. The love between you and your children has already withstood time, challenges, and change. Imagine how strong it can become when it's paired with conscious communication and mutual understanding. So go ahead, reach out today. Not to correct or instruct or revisit old wounds, but to simply say, "I love you and I want us to have the best relationship we can." That one sentence can do more than 1,000 lectures ever could. If this video has given you something to think about, or even just reminded you that you're not alone in navigating this chapter of parenting, I invite you to share your thoughts in the comments. What's one thing you've learned about connecting with your adult children? Your story could help someone else. And if you found this helpful, please give it a like and subscribe for more content just like this. We're building a community here, one rooted in wisdom, kindness, and the belief that it's never too late to grow, to connect, and to love even more deeply. Here's to you, the parent who's still learning, still giving, and still leading with heart. Your journey matters and your love is a legacy. Here's to living your best life at any age.